Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Line Change, the NHL betting podcast from the Action Network. My name is Michael Leboff, and joining me, as always, are Tim Kalinowski and Nick Martin. And today we're going to go through the 9 games coming your way on Thursday evening. Uh, we're in pretty hefty agreement here, so we're gonna skip the underdog segment, but we do have some dogs we like. We'll get to them. We're just gonna go game by game through all 9, and then kind of tab which ones are our favorite bets when we get to the end here. And we're going to start with the headliner, the homecoming. It's going to be cinema. It's going to be box office. It's going to be the New York Islanders as a minus 155 favorite on the road in Montreal. Habs coming back plus 130 at the time of recording. These numbers are varying. So be sure to shop around either way. A total of 6 here. It'll be Semyon Varlamov starting for the Islanders. First game for him in a while. So keep that in mind. Um, the Habs not playing all that well. The Islanders showed really well in a loss to Vegas on Tuesday night, Nick. Uh, the Patrick Waugh revolution. It's off and running. 1-1. Do you believe in it enough at minus 155, or are you looking for something better?
Yeah, you set off the header, at minus 155 pass, minus 130 play. It's right there. Um, I thought, I mean, it was pretty obvious. I thought the Isles played more or less a pretty damn good game on Tuesday. They owned much more of the play. They broke down at the wrong spots. And, the one goal was clearly a softie from Sorokin, which is a bit of a rare storyline. But I do think everything that Patrick was saying about the way that this team needs to change their play sounds smart. It sounds like the correct take. And like you've said, Mike, I think there's a lot of upside to grow just off better coaching. I think it's been more than just not great personnel. So I do think in time we'll see the Isles start to surge a little bit here. And I think the Canadiens are absolutely horrible. So I'm not going to talk anyone off of this. The Habs are just getting caved in so bad right now. And it's gotten past just their MO early on of trying to kind of hang around and keep guys below the pucks or below the puck in the defensive zone. I thought Nick Suzuki's comments about that game were pretty interesting. If you heard them talking about how they just broke down in a couple of the bad sequences, which was true, but they also spent the whole 2 first periods in their own zone. So that's what tends to happen. And I think there can be a lot of that same kind of narrative here. So I don't mind that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Montembeault went over his save total in a classic look. I was kind of grumpy once the game got going. That would have been a really good way to target that Vegas game because I was like so confident that the Islanders would have their run of play, and Vegas is so good at just paying off every chance, even if maybe the Rempel one should never happen anyways. But I could see that. I think the Habs will find a way to like make it competitive and it's going to be closely played. I wouldn't hate a look on the under either, just kind of the way it sets up. But yeah, I feel fairly confident the Isles will look like the clear better side in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start by saying, Leboff, F you and your stupid effing team. You complain about their spots and, they never get a good spot. They get screwed by the schedule makers. Finally, they get a good spot on Tuesday night. And yeah, great, Nick. They carried play for a
It
lot.
wasn't a good spot at all.
Hold
Aiden
on,
Hill's
I was just
back
gonna
for the
say, Tim,
Knights. It's come on.
you
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
they get a good spot. Was Friday versus the Hawks, who are on a back-to-back, not a good spot?
Yeah, but that's a galvanizing spot for a team, after having a game
Okay.
canceled. That's a terrible spot too. And so was the back-to-back for Dallas after they played New Jersey. It's just look, the Islanders are terrible against teams on the second leg of back-to-backs. I think it's like 3-13 right now, 3-14. So schedule makers know that.
Yeah, I'm just so I bet it like on open, or I got minus 144. I probably wouldn't go to 155, like Nick said, but I'm just sick and tired of this team. They should win games and then they don't. I would say my one thing that's a little concerning was just like at the end of that game when they were kind of caving in Vegas, like, goalie pulled, all that sort of stuff. Like they can't get one when they really need it. And that's like what that's why that's why you pay big money for goal scoring. That's why like these regular season teams can, I think of like the Leafs, like how many times do we see them in the last 2 minutes tie it up, go win it in overtime? Like it's just concerning that they cannot do that. And I know it's like a lot of variance and luck and good bounces, but I mean, I just have a sour taste from that.
The Islanders still don't have an empty net goal this season,
Yeah.
by the way.
Wow.
We said that they were the only team without one. I think I brought that up in December, in the middle of December. We're now a month later, and they still haven't scored one for themselves. Yeah, I think it's Islanders here or nothing. And like Nick said, I think you can go with some correlated ice tilt bets, whether it's the Montembeault saves or you want to put together a parlay with a couple Islanders. I like Nelson, Dobson. It looks like Mike Riley's going to come out of the lineup, so you can't use him for shots, but. He would be another one if he does draw in as a shot prop guy. It'll be Pierre Engvall's return to the lineup, his first game under Waugh. I think he might be an interesting person to target on a point or a shot as well. So use those to make a ticket or just back the aisles because I do think this sets up pretty well.
Um, yeah, and the one thing I'd throw out there too, and I know it was very game script. I'm sure their ice time got ran up late, but Waugh didn't use the fourth line. Hey, he really gave the big dogs their minutes. Horvat would probably be my preferred shot target if he's going to be okay. Is he going
He's
to be
fine. Yeah, he
fine? I know
practiced
got it
today.
hit in the face. Okay.
Yep.
Maybe
He's set
Pajot.
4 and 5 under Waugh, and I think what Waugh wants to do is going to gel with what Barzal and Horvat want to do. So I think those two are going to be guys to watch right now, and it's going to be
Borvat. I
interesting.
like that, Nick. Borvat. The two of them.
Horvat. That's some of them.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so we'll see how they do moving forward. I think they could definitely get it going under Waugh here. And we've talked about it all year, like what the hell was Lane Lambert doing with that fourth line in some of these spots? And it looks like Waugh is maybe going to clean that up. So hopefully for you, Mike.
Hopefully. Yeah, Bowie Horvat. We love Bowie. He caught himself a NIMBY lawsuit over the summer to become a true Long Islander. I think it was illegal dumping of landfill or something when he was getting construction done on his house. So a true Long
Nice.
Islander that Bo Horvat is already. Let's go to Detroit now. We'll go to Motown for Flyers. They're plus 110 and Red Wings minus 130 right now. A total of 6.5. I think this is maybe the only game we'll have any disagreement on this entire board, actually. I think that Philadelphia is fine here as an underdog. The Tippett injury is a little scary. Do I trust Sam Urson to be the goalie that he was for the hot stretch he had, or the goalie that he was bookended around that hot stretch? I don't know, but I look at these two teams as bang average, or excuse me, bang equals, I should say. And the line is kind of telling us that with Detroit getting the respect for home ice. The difference here is that Detroit's 5-on-5 numbers and Phillies have come back down to earth, but Detroit's are still terrible. And as Nick pointed out before the game against Tampa Bay or Dallas, they were just getting by because Alex Lyon was in another one of his hot stretches. So I like getting the plus number here. I think if it was like flipped, I would be kind of banging the Detroit drum more than the Philly one. I'm lukewarm on it, but I like the Flyers. Nick, you were looking the other way though.
Yeah, I was lukewarm. I'm not gonna have a play on this one, so I won't go too long. They're kind of polar opposite teams, right? Like I think Philly's still more or less going to be a much better side defensively at even strength. But Detroit's got that lethal power play, and they just seem to be better at taking advantage of their opportunities. And lately, they've been hot. But I agree, I didn't really have a ton of interest in this one anywhere.
I think really, I don't know how much stock we're putting into, how important Tippett is for them, especially a team that, doesn't have a ton of firepower, for being honest. Like it seems like, with Philly losing three in a row too, like, all the stuff going on, maybe they just want to get to the All-Star break. Like they kind of, um, you, we know they've been overachieving a bit, and at some point, at least me, I've given them credit and bet on them, quite a bit, but it takes a lot of effort to kind of hang around the way that they do, right? And the way Torts makes them play. I just wonder if they're kind of running out of gas a little bit here, getting into the All-Star break. It's been a tall task all year, and they're doing a swell job. It's just I worry with them being maybe the Tippett injury wouldn't be as big of a deal to a different roster, but for them, I think it really, really matters.
Yeah, Philly is the third best money line team in the NHL per John Ewing of BetMGM. Only Vancouver and Winnipeg in terms of units won are better than Philly. Detroit's right there too, though. They're fifth. So it does seem like that maybe the secret's out on Philly a bit now, and or I shouldn't say that, just that they're gonna be found out. They're a coin flip to make the playoffs right now, minus 110 on each side, basically. So are the Devils, and the Islanders are plus 210. I would say that I'd much rather back uh, the latter two than Philly to make it. I would say I could totally see this. If it does come unglued, it's gonna come unglued in a big way for Philly. Um, Bruins and Senators next. This line might seem a little funky to a lot of people, but the Senators are getting some respect here at plus 120 at home. Total 6.5. The Bruins minus 142. How can you not? How can you not bet the Senators here, Tim? How can you not bet these guys against the best team in the Eastern Conference? And this is just a smash spot for Ottawa.
Stop it. Yeah. I took a little break from Ottawa, but I'm back in. They've stabilized quite a bit here. They've taken care of business. It's encouraging. And the Bruins back to back here. Carolina, we talked about, they're going to give them everything they can handle, I assume. And I just think it's a tough spot for the Bruins in the back to back here. I think something that is definitely concerning is the Bruins are getting healthier. Like they are pretty healthy right now. So that's, when you're getting a back to back and they're healthy, like that's not ideal, but I mean, Ottawa's a play here, right? This is a team are they, Nick? Are they turning it around? Are they doing it? Am I going to buy clown face paint here?
Oh yeah. I think they're going to turn around. I like the Sens. There's some big market discrepancy on this game because there's plus 100s out there right now. And then there's also plus 120s. And I think at plus 120, the Sens are a good bet. I think, you look at it the last couple games and they did get to, show out versus the Canadiens. So that you got to factor that in. They had looked worse under Martin, but now it feels like they're getting going again. And I look at this roster. I have it up right now. Like their offensive lineup with Pinto back looks so good. Their forward core, I hate saying it, but the way Grieg is playing, like Stützle, Batherson, that's a really good second line. And then you look at the third line now with Pinto down the middle. It's the classic Sens take, but on paper, this team does look like a wagon now. And I think they can pay off in this spot. I think that this is kind of the now or never push. I feel like they're, it's just get all these wins before the All-Star break or your season's over kind of thing. So I think that this is the time that I want to buy on them playing Boston. And like Tim said, coming off a rivalry game in Boston Wednesday night that should be super competitive with Carolina. I think this is kind of one of those ones that if you're Boston, it just feels like a pure letdown spot. I don't like betting into that too much, but I think the Sens are capable of paying it off. I think they're going to play quite well down the stretch now. With that said, would I bet on the Pens or the Sens? We kind of talked about this to make the playoffs for the numbers that are out there. No, I don't think so. And if you want to know why, just like there's plus 1,500 out there for them to make it, go and calculate what they need to claw back over all these teams who are going to keep having 3-point games. And I think you'll probably see why models have them at like 2% because they need to win a ridiculous amount of games. If I was to kind of want to do that, I'd rather just bet the Sens game by game, right? Because they need to win at such a ridiculous rate. So,
Well,
not
hey,
to
Nick,
mention that we also have worthless Sens tickets already. So there's also that in the mix. But I think this is the time to buy on them. I really think they can make this quite tough for Boston. And if they get a reasonable goaltending performance, like it feels to me like a fair way to summarize it is I'm pretty confident the Sens are going to hold play to their number plus 120 very often in this matchup. And it's just going to come down to like what kind of a performance we see from Boston in goal and if the Sens get any saves at all. So I think that's a pretty strong case for a bet at something that's plus 120.
Yeah, and I'll just add in, even if the Sens, despite their slim to none odds to make the playoffs, at this point, if they have a good second half of the year, they can at least say, "Hey, we were just missing Pinto, right? Hey, and then we can start the whole thing over again in the summer with the
No,
momentum. Hey, we
we're
missed
gonna start the
Pinto,
whole thing over.
we didn't have enough saves, and we can just, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
The roller coaster's going back up again.
they'll make a trade at like the draft, and everyone will be like, "Oh, we're back in."
Yep.
Uh,
We're back.
the Senators basically need to rip off a 8 to 10 game winning streak to have a chance. So
And then they can lose one, then they have to do it again.
yeah, exactly. Uh, Coyotes and Lightning up next. Coyotes are in Florida, doing the two-step. So keep that in mind with the back-to-back. Uh, the Yotes are plus 170 here. Lightning minus 205. Total of 6. Tampa. I don't want to say that they've course corrected, but I think that they've figured out what their winning formula has to be this season compared to like others where they had a little bit more depth, a little bit better hands on the back end and stuff like that. Uh, and the formula is basically hope that Nikita Kucherov scores at least 2 points, and Braden Point chips in, and Hedman has been racking up points as well, and then Vasilevsky plays well, and
And
C
get power plays.
and get power plays, right? Draw some penalties. Um, but I do want to give them credit. Like I think that they've been better lately. So this number does look justifiable, especially in the spot for Arizona. And Nick, you're not you're not running away from Tampa even at this price.
No, I mean, I just think we don't need to go into like what Tampa is right now. I don't think they're doing anything that much better recently. They've had some huge performances from Kucherov. They played quite well in Philly after what was a big letdown game in Detroit that was really important for them. Um, but like I think you can say that Tampa's like the 14th best team in the league and like them at this number right now, which sounds like a bit of a hate on for the Yotes, but it just feels hard to see how the dinged up Coyotes are going to hang around in this spot. I thought that Tampa deserves to be a bigger favorite than this, so I don't know. I don't love it, but it just yeah, it's tough right now. The Coyotes don't have the goal scoring upside to score their way out of trouble if Tampa gets a couple power play goals here, and their big guns are probably going to get their looks versus a Arizona team skating in leg two of a back to back. So I think Tampa can pay off in this spot pretty often, and I was a little surprised that there was minus 195s out there on at the time of recording, and I would play down to minus 200.
Yeah, I would say I wish someone was offering a bet over under 3 points for the Yotes on this little roadie to the southeast because I think it's just going to be really difficult for them. I think that they're going to hang around in some sense, but there's no real way to kind of bet on that. Yeah, and I would say my biggest cause for concern is the fact that, the Yotes, their PK is mid to bottom half of the league, in like the 20 range. And then I just have pulled up here in terms of minor penalties taken this year. The Yotes are in the top 10. So giving Tampa Bay opportunities in the power play does not bode well for them. They definitely have the profile to hang around in a lot of games, but this seems one of them. Even if the Yotes say carried like, 60% of the play, it could all be just shattered in 1 second with a hook and call.
Scary stuff. Connor Ingram. I don't know if he's starting tonight or tomorrow, but revenge game. Luck out. Uh, against the
Oh yeah,
Lightning.
forgot about that.
Devils and Canes up next. New Jersey's plus 130. The Canes minus 155, and a total of 6.5 for this one. I kind of said it about Tampa too, and I think Jersey's in a similar spot where they have had to change their identity a little bit to try to just win games. Like it seemed like against Vegas, I should say, that they were just like sod it. Let's win this thing 8-7 if we have to, whatever we got to do. Um, because the back end is so banged up. But if they bet on themselves against, even a team like Carolina in this kind of spot, the Devils will come out okay more often than not, given their offensive upside, even without Hughes. So, uh, that said, it is tough to do that against Carolina, but you are catching them here in a good spot. They're playing Boston the night before. Uh, the goaltending edge or the goaltending disadvantage for New Jersey kind of gets wiped out in this one because neither team really has a goaltender they can truly trust. I think the Devils are okay here at plus 130. They'd be up there. Uh, I have my favorite underdog of the night. I'll talk about at the end, but the Devils would be on the short list as well. So, uh, Devils for me here, Nick.
Yeah, Devils for me as well. There's plus 140 is the best number I'm seeing at the time of recording. I would play that, and I would play small to plus 130. I think that, like you said, it's a pretty good spot for the Devils to pay off some of their chances. They're going to be able to figure out getting some looks, and Carolina on the second leg of that back-to-back. And I think the Devils can hang around. They're going to get their chances if they get reasonable goaltending here. It seems like they can play to this number. They do lose McLeod, which does suck because he has been actually really good this season. He's kind of quietly become quite important. So that does hurt. Like I actually think that moves the needle a fair bit.
Especially without Hughes.
Um,
You know,
yes.
just
And then the other one that I'll probably go to and hopefully get some good numbers. I think Timo Meyer is going to be playable on the shot prop. So keep your eye on that. We'll see how much they move it. My prediction on the McCann move was bad because it was more obvious than to most sports books than I thought. That they were playing Chicago, I guess, was the problem that just moved like 40 cents compared to his last game, which is huge. But I think that Meyer could be a pretty good guy to target here, or anyone on the Devils top line. That new look top line looked really, really good. And Meyer kind of looked closer to his former self. So especially with McLeod out, I think you can count on that unit playing huge minutes here. And you can just that did feel. I know you don't want to rate these things too much, but that was a huge win over Vegas. They really gutted that one out. So I could see them kind of following that up and playing their big guns huge minutes here, and maybe that line having a good night.
Yeah, I would make it 3 for 3 here. I'm on New Jersey as well. If you just played this game right here, right? So goaltending matchup, wash because they're both, been so up and down, or mostly down really. And then New Jersey's roster, injuries, etc. I think that is a wash when you're talking about Carolina being on this back to back from Boston down here. New Jersey will be waiting on them, and then at that point you're getting New Jersey for a nice little plus money price here, and that feels like sort of coin flipish. I see value on the Devils in that sense. I think that all those things kind of wash each other out, and then you got a good little hockey game on your hands. And New Jersey too. A lot of the teams leading up to the All-Star break here have some tough schedules, like 3 and 4, some tough travel. We'll get to a team that's some brutal travel coming up, but New Jersey kind of lucked out here, and their travel isn't bad. So I think that they could kind of catch Carolina here.
all right. We'll talk about that brutal travel team. That's the Nashville Predators. Plus 115 in Minnesota. Wild minus 135. Total of 6. The John Hines Bowl, Tim. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm on the Wild here, and really this is about the schedule for sure. I sent you guys a text earlier in the day. If you just listen to Nashville's schedule here, um, as I pull it up, as we text a lot. It's buried in here. Yeah, Nashville went at Arizona, then back home. Then they're gonna go at Minnesota, at Edmonton, at Ottawa, then back home. So that's 11 days of travel there, or 11 days, 6 games within that. Minnesota, with getting healthy again, I think is a major upgrade. These teams are, pretty even with the way that they've been competing all year. But I think what might be missing from the equation here is the fact that when Minnesota was playing poorly, they had an excuse. They were, Gustafson, Kaprizov, a bunch of bodies in and out. Now they're stable again. Now they're healthy. They're playing better. They've won 4 of 5. I think that this line is just, not giving enough love to what Minnesota's ceiling is when they're healthy.
I don't disagree with any of those takes. My beef is that I'm still a little afraid of fading the Preds, which sounds kind of scary, but I do think like more often than not when I watch this team, they actually look pretty good. So that's kind of the one thing. But with that said, their Preds are getting quite a bit of credit here. Um, so nothing to worry about there, I think. And I do think you could keep looking to Marco Rossi or Brock Faber in the points department. If they're both better than even money here, I would probably play that too, especially because the Predators, like it's a huge spot. I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of tighten up a little bit, but the Preds have actually been playing pretty consistently high event hockey for a lot of the year. So I don't hate the chance that maybe this one breaks open a little bit. So those are kind of two producers I'd keep my eye on.
Ducks and Stars. I think of all the games on the board, this is one I have the least amount of interest in. Anaheim helped Timmy and I on Tuesday night with a win over Buffalo on ESPN. Nice nationally televised game that was. Uh, Ducks here plus 250. They're catching the Stars, coming back from the road trip at minus 310. Total 6.5. Yeah, I got nothing here, Nick. I just have no interest in this one.
No, the only slight comment I'll throw out there, and I have a feeling the number's going to get moved enough that it's not playable. It'll be popular play, but Wyatt Johnson and has been moved up to that Hintz and Robertson unit. I'm sure people saw that I had posted about the Detroit game, and that unit is demolishing people right now. They look so good, and really, it feels like just with where Wyatt Johnson's at this point, like it's actually reasonable to see why they can be even better than they were with Pavelski, and they've been consistently such a good unit. So if it's if like it was plus 110 Tuesday, I think if it's minus 110, so that'd be a 20-cent move, I would still play. But also the Stars implied total here is obviously even a lot higher than it was versus Detroit. So I think it'll probably get that number still be too far gone. But yeah, that was really all I had in this one. And you know what I'll throw up while we're kind of on it? I did see so someone put out there's market on leading goal scorer in February, and Robertson was 80 to 1, which I thought was pretty interesting because he scored at such a ridiculous rate, coinciding with this Johnston line getting formed back together, which is has the potential to just keep dominating teams. And then the Stars have 13 games, which not many teams do. So that's kind of one I'll throw out there now. Well, that's still out there. Probably not mathematically like the greatest bet ever if you actually dive into the pure odds of any player in the league can win that. Probably a lot of the guys seem like they're more valuable than they are, but I think that's kind of a fun bet.
Wow. Nick, you saved the show right there because I had nada on this game. Way too many good matchups on the board to spend any more than 3 seconds on this one. But you tell me 80 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say no more. I don't care about mathematical anything like that. Yeah, 80 to 1. Count me in. Great job, Nick. Well done.
The Chicago Blackhawks are not only the biggest underdog of the night at the time of recording, they're plus 440 in Edmonton. They are the biggest underdog of the season so far, which tells you just that the parity in the NHL, because we were getting dealt some big numbers on teams like Montreal, Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago, Columbus last year, and this year it's just not been like that. But Edmonton minus 600, total of 6.5 here. I mean, we've said it a couple times now with these Oiler matchups that because they have such a uh, high probability relative to other teams of just naming a score in hockey when it's not easy for anybody to get to 8 or 9 goals. Uh, you can definitely build something here to have some fun. Uh, whether it's some a sprinkle on like a McDavid hat trick, a Hyman hat trick. Uh, Nugent Hopkins has been playing really well lately with that Fogle Nugent Hopkins Draisaitl line uh has been going well. I mean, everyone's going well when you're on a 14 game winning streak. So definitely explore those options as well. Or maybe a reverse puck line on the Blackhawks here, Nick.
I didn't really have anything here. I thought that the prices looked right, as insane as that sounds. And I don't know if I absolutely had to bet. Lately, they have been nuking the odds on these gigantic favorites more too for like their player props if you track game by game. So I don't know. maybe Hawks' first goal. And that was tough too to talk about. I mean, it ties in with Columbus, but that Oilers win the other night was horrific. That was 2 periods of some of the best luck I've seen this year. They could have been scored on 5 times. I thought some of those sequences in front of goal just wouldn't drop on a Blue Jacket stick no matter what. And credit to Skinner. And then the Oilers played one good period to find their way out of it. But I don't know. The Oilers are playing so damn well. I think maybe they're, you get to a point where you're starting to be due for more of a letdown, but I don't know. I mean, what are you gonna do with this game? It's just honestly gonna be funny to watch this spectacle.
I think that, I mean, also too, Chicago back to back. Yeah, that's nice. That's enjoy that buzzsaw coming in. I think we all had something on the Blue Jackets against Edmonton on Tuesday night. So I threw a quarter unit on the Blue Jackets. Obviously, they didn't win. So, but that was like plus 300. I got it at. So now plus 440 in my head. I can throw another quarter unit on the Blackhawks and keep doing this till I've lost about 1 unit. I think is is going to be my plan. I can't not with an underdog like this. So what I actually do, I think I'm going to go Chicago. Plus 440. What I'm looking at right now, and then Edmonton like minus 3.5, like two separate plays there, and both will be plus money because I kind of feel that could be the window right there.
I kind of don't hate the first period line. It ended up in a tie, and then Columbus was probably a better team. They were the better team in the first period, so I don't hate that. I could see going back to that. Maybe the Blackhawks kind of come in and just try to hang around early, and maybe the Oilers are a little sloppy. I'm looking, and on Money Puck's model, they have the Hawks at only a 15.3% chance of winning this game, which is the lowest I've ever seen on there. That is also runs almost perfectly in line with what minus 600 suggests. So they're definitely in agreement with the sports books here. It seems bizarre to look at that.
I'll add one more thing, Leboff. Same game parlay, Oilers minus 2.5 and under 6.5 pays plus 345. So kind of like a reverse correlation there. You're looking at like an Edmonton 4-1 win, 5-1 win. Could, like you can kind of play around with things like that in terms of you really think that the Blackhawks get nothing here.
All right, we'll wrap up the board with Blue Jackets and Flames. I think you have an idea of where we're going to go with this one. Columbus is plus 180. Calgary's minus 220. Total 6.5. We were very encouraged with the way that Columbus just played in Edmonton against the hottest team in the NHL, and that was just another encouraging performance from a team that doesn't win. And that's just what the Blue Jackets are, and that's why their prices are hanging at these kind of odds, even against a team like Calgary, which is smack average. And you get the added bonus here of this is a massive 2 points that the Flames need. Like they need to collect these kind of wins to stay in the playoff mix. And if we know anything about this team over the past season plus, this is where they just hand the game to the Blue Jackets. Similar to we were on the Blues on Tuesday night, and that one paid off in a collapse. So how about another one here? Plus 180. I think this price this is my favorite underdog of the night. This is one of my favorite underdogs in a couple weeks here in the NHL. I really like the Blue Jackets at this price, Nick.
Yeah, that Flames Blues game was so close to how we handicapped it. Like I think that we had specifically said the Flames could outshoot them by 10, and I wouldn't care. The Blues have the avenue to outscore and get their way into it. And you know how the Flames games are always going to go. And for me here, my biggest like for the Blue Jackets at plus 180 is how many of these games where I think they've played to their number and not been rewarded with a win. I think that's keeping people from being on to the fact. And the most important part of the game is finishing and paying off your wins. I get those things, but I do think it's been unlikely how many of these games the Blue Jackets have lost and that they are due for better for what's been dating back like a fairly long spell. I think their play looks pretty realistic or pretty improved. So I think this number is too long. I think they can they skate stride for stride with the Flames at even strength, and the underlying numbers agree with that. If you look at the last 10 games, the Blue Jackets own a nearly identical even strength share in terms of expected goals to Calgary. They're both right at 47%. So I don't necessarily think the Flames should be much better than the Blue Jackets on the power play, big picture either, even if it's kind of gone that way. I think that more or less they'll run pretty even. Obviously, Markstrom's a huge edge in goal compared to what Columbus has, but those are minor if you're telling me these teams are going to look comparable at even strength. So I think plus 180 is too long a number, and I would play anything better than plus 165.
Yeah, when you play around with some of these advanced metrics here, Calgary is ahead of Chicago or of ahead of Columbus in, pretty much all of them, but it's not by much. And when you kind of like put this all together, you see like, okay, yeah, Calgary has an edge here, but well, I don't know, I'd say like 40 cents max. Like it doesn't get to this differential here, even with home ice and all that. It's just a little too much love. And Nick, this would be throw Columbus in the category of covering the effort spread. I think I think that they are
Yeah.
perfect for that.
Well, and the one thing too with Calgary that I think is interesting, like you look at a team like Tampa Bay, and I've talked about this a lot. Like public models underrate shot quality because they don't track puck movement before the play, which makes a huge difference. So you look at a team like Tampa Bay with Kucherov, and they continue to outscore their expected rates season after season. You look at Calgary this year; they're one spot above Tampa in terms of goals scored above expected. And that's kind of my point here is I don't think this Calgary roster has like the shooting talent to just pay off more than they have in terms of chances generated. So if you're telling me these two teams are going to play to a pretty comparable level in terms of like the actual chance creation for the next sample of games, then I think eventually their numbers will run closer. And Markstrom's been as good as he's going to be, right? Like he's been pretty insane. He gave up a really bad goal to give us the win on Tuesday. But overall, I think they're like the Flames are what they are, and he's been this good, and they're still kind of winning games only at this level. So the avenues are there. It's ugly. I hate betting on the Blue Jackets, but I think they'll play to their price. So we got to do it.
Yeah.
You know we hate betting on the Blue Jackets because we do it every night that they play, it seems like. Uh, and speaking of, we'll talk best bets now. Just real quick, just give out your favorite bet for Thursday night. Nick, you hate him so much.
Yeah, I'm settling on the Blue Jackets as my best bet at plus 180. I feel like I have a good read on where both these teams are at. It's scary because the Blue Jackets never seem to pay off their offensive chances and their goaltending isn't good. But I love the chances that they skate with Calgary and hang around in this spot. And you look at their roster too, there's been some questionable usage and there's some bad players on the back end. But also, this is a team that doesn't have like a 29th placed offensive core at all, right? Like their third line in Edmonton was Johnson, Voronkov, and Marchenko. And, if Cylinder, he's not a great first line center at all, but if he can find some stability, like I look at this and I think that the potential is there for them to turn it on in the back half. Um, so yeah, I think the Blue Jackets are continue to be a little undervalued, and eventually here they're going to win a few more games than they have been.
I love him. I'll go with the Senators over the Bruins. Plus 120 is my favorite bet. Great spot for Ottawa. Tough spot for Boston. Senators on the up and up. As always, they always pay off in these spots when it looks like they're about to start turning things around. They always do. Can always rely on the Senators, right, Tim? What's your
Oh,
favorite
all
bet?
reliable, all
All
reliable.
reliable.
Um, making Nick say the Blue Jackets again for his best bet was the definition of like say it out loud one more
Yeah.
time.
Uh,
It's cruel. Yeah, I'm gonna go with so are we all three of these are gonna be dogs and best bets. Look at that, yeah, because I'm New Jersey here, New Jersey. I outlined it with the scheduling spot. I think net you're getting pretty good value on what feels like a coin flip type environment here. So three best bets, three dogs, tons of agreement. What could go wrong?
Comes in
we'll
at
find out.
13 to 1 if you were going to sprinkle the three.
Ooh,
I don't hate it. So the 80-1 on Jason Robertson, the lottery ticket parlay you're going to build with Edmonton and Chicago, and then you can same game parlay, super same game parlay with the Islanders blowing out the Habs. Everyone's going to be rich by Friday morning. How about that?
it's
But
that
until
easy.
then, thank you for listening. Tell us what you're going to spend your money on from with all your Blue Jackets winnings. When we talk to you next time on Tuesday. For for Nick and Tim, this is Mike. This has been Line Change. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.